Welcome to Movies TV Mad. Why Tom Ellis should be the next Doctor. Before we start talking about Tom, here's a lovely picture of Russell T Davies, the 2023 showrunner of Doctor Who, with a Dalek, his favourite Doctor Who monster. I think we all know that Russell loves the Daleks. And this was on an Instagram post. Go follow him, because if you comment constructively, not rudely or demandingly, he will definitely like your stuff. He's liked lots of my comments, and by the way, he even replies sometimes. And on the caption he said day one. Now this was kind of funny when he said day one, because the other day in his quote, when he was revealed as the brand new showrunner, he said we're time traveling to the future. We've still got Jodie and Chris's final season to look forward to. But yeah, very, very exciting. And will the Daleks get a brand new design under Russell T Davies? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, why Tom Ellis should be the next Doctor? Are there any Lucifer fans in the house? If you've seen Tom Ellis in Lucifer, you know that even that character could be a fucking great Doctor. I mean, Tom Ellis has proven that he can do comedy, he can do drama, and he can make you care about him. He can make you laugh. He can make you cry on the turn of a sixpence. He's brilliant. Men love him. Women love him. You know, gay men love him. Everyone loves Tom Ellis. I don't think there's anyone better than Tom Ellis to play the next Doctor. But let's talk about this more deeply as well. You know, will they go for a diversity hire? Now, Russell T Davies could very much easily cast a gay man as the next Doctor. I don't care if they cast Mr. Blobby. Put him in a trench coat, put him in a fucking scarf, and cast him as the Doctor. We've got to stop being upset by different demographics being cast in this role. You know, it doesn't matter. What matters is what the showrunner and actor does with the part. It's always been the way, as I said on yesterday's show, that the actor playing the Doctor and the showrunner have sat together and said, how can we make a brand new original version of the Doctor? In fact, the only era that hasn't done this is Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall's era, because they didn't seem to have an idea or a clue or an intention to make an original Doctor. It was like, oh, I'm going to be like David Tennant's Doctor, the most popular one, by the way, or one of them, right? You may not like David Tennant, but universally, David Tennant's Doctor is probably at this moment in time the most popular. There's no question. He always wins the popularity polls, doesn't he? And I think that's the problem with Jodie and Chris's era. The Doctor doesn't have this personality, this, you know, Doc Emmett Brown nutball kind of nutty professor, this genius. At times the Doctor can be a bit of an evil genius kind of thing, but he's got personality, right? The Doctor has always had personality, but in Jodie's era, in Chris's era, the Doctor lacked that personality. Jodie Whittaker's era of Doctor Who hasn't failed because Jodie is a female. It's failed because the showrunner didn't want to do anything else but say, we have a female Doctor. And the Doctor should always have bags of personality. And Tom Ellis has personality in abundance. Now, if you didn't know this, and I'm sure most of you watching this video know, that Tom Ellis has actually been in the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who. He played a Doctor, ironically called Tom. He was also a freedom fighter. He was in the season 3, final 3 episodes, and he shared a lot of screen time with Martha Jones. Now, if I remember rightly, the Doctor never actually saw Tom, so they wouldn't be doing the same thing as they did with Capaldi's Doctor, where, you know, the Doctor remembered being Capaldi and became Capaldi, and they did that whole thing. When the Doctor says, this face, why this face? It's because I've a reminder to hold myself to the mark. I fucking loved that. That was so good. But obviously the Doctor has never seen Tom Ellis's face before. So it would just be a random. It doesn't matter that Tom Ellis has been in Doctor Who before. He has got everything. Everything. So why Tom Ellis? Well, because of the qualities the man has, but also I feel it's not really the time to be experimental with Doctor Who. Doctor Who is on its knees. Whether there's some of you out there who love Jodie and Chris's era, and that's totally fine, by the way. I'm not here to shit on it. I'm just giving you my constructive criticisms of it. If Chris went in and said, I'm going to give Jodie an original take for the Doctor, do your thing, be expansive, give the character bags of personality. Even Chris's companions don't have much personality, and that's the problem. Now, bringing in this comedian as this companion, is it John something? I forgot his name, but I think that's going to be really cool. That's another actor who could have been a great Doctor. Bradley Walsh could have been a great Doctor. But there's many females who could have been a great Doctor. I mean, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, with all her personality and ability, probably could have been a great female Doctor. There's nothing wrong with diversity hires. The problem with diversity hires is when these people think the diversity is enough and the entertainment and the storytelling and the character development doesn't matter. This is where it goes wrong. If you're going to do it, you don't treat it differently, because it's not really diversity, is it? It's not really inclusion and representation, because you're treating those people differently and you're acting like you're doing those minorities and women a favour. You're not doing them a favour by representing them, because they should be included and they should be represented and they should be treated like the men. The men are made awesome. They've been made epic and awesome Doctors. So why shouldn't the women of colour, why shouldn't the people of colour, why shouldn't the minority actors get the same privilege of taking the clay and moulding the bestest, greatest Doctor they can create and mould, right? But I don't think this is the time for controversy, because we're just coming out of a controversial, experimental phase of Doctor Who, and Chris Chibnall has been very experimental. The music, the way it's shot. But the biggest experiment and the biggest controversy was the Timeless Children and what he decided to do with that. Now, it's very, very interesting, isn't it? Because Russell T Davies created the Time War. Literally, we came into the first season finding out that there was no Gallifrey anymore, because the Doctor destroyed it and killed all the Time Lords and all the Daleks because there was a Time War. That's pretty controversial to me, that there's basically, because of that, there would be no more trips back to Gallifrey. In some corners, I would imagine that would be somewhat disappointing, that Gallifrey doesn't exist anymore. And going deeper than that, Stephen Moffat made a really, really massive, choice to bring back Gallifrey. In the Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special, they change it and they save Gallifrey. So Gallifrey's out there after the Day of the Doctor, and the Doctor's searching for it. Now, that's basically Moffat saying, do you know what, Russell? We're mates, I love you, you were great, but I don't agree with you by getting rid of Gallifrey. So that's interesting. I like the Time War. I think it's a great way to create some brand new mythology for Doctor Who. And I've always found the Timeless Child concept very, very interesting. But the reason the fans don't like it mostly is because it deletes William Hartnell as the first Doctor. But let's be absolutely clear here. It doesn't delete Hartnell as the Doctor. I would have been as upset as everybody else if it deletes him as the Doctor. But deleting him as the first Doctor, to me, I understand why you're upset. I get it. But it doesn't upset me because Hartnell's still there. And you could really, really create a great story, can't you? Because we don't know the Timeless Child's story totally. We don't know how it all fits in place, and it could actually be kind of interesting if they do it properly. Now, a lot of people are demanding for this to be retconned. I don't think it's going to be retconned, because I think they're going to double down on this. But then again, it depends on how the BBC feel about all this. If they feel that the fans are so upset and they've lost so much money, they probably will. We don't know. if the Doctor definitely is the timeless child, right? The Matrix could have been corrupted. I've said this a million times before. We simply don't know. And so, but it's an interesting story. It does break canon. There's no question about that. But done in the right way, it could create an exciting future. I don't think that Russell T Davies is going to want to deal with this, but maybe Russell T Davies can clean the concept up a little bit if, let's just say, Chibnall doesn't delete it. It depends what he's been told by his paymasters, the BBC. He's either going to not retcon it, but say, or maybe the Doctor, after all, isn't the timeless child. But lots of showrunners have been very controversial, but people were upset by it. And I'm not going to invalidate people being upset by it. I just feel it's not like Hartnell was deleted himself, right? And another reason I wasn't that upset about it is because the story hasn't finished yet. We don't know what they're going to do with it. So there's no point being upset until there's something to be upset about. We don't know if she actually is the timeless child. But because of the Chibnall era being so controversial and experimental, I don't think you can afford to do it again unless the experimental stuff is so awesome, so epic, and ticks all the fans' boxes. That's the only way you can get away with it. Now, RTD's original era of Doctor Who was experimental in the way it was more emotional. It was very different, but he kept the key components. But in terms of the casting of the Doctor, I don't think they can be as, let's say, controversial and experimental as they were with casting Jodie Whittaker. Now, casting a woman as the Doctor shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be classed as experimental. But unfortunately, even though we're in the 21st century, even though we're in 2021, people still didn't like it. There's people literally upset that a woman played the Doctor. I still feel it was the wrong woman playing the Doctor, and I think there were so many other hires they could have went for. But even with Jodie, who is a good actor, by the way, she really is, if she was allowed to mould her own clay a little bit more like previous actors who played the Doctor were, and be a little bit, had some creative freedom herself. Normally, actors who play the Doctor do get that creative freedom to create a new original Doctor, which I think is the right way to go. Look at Matt Smith, that awkward kind of uni student Doctor. It was fantastic once you got used to it. Let's be honest. Apart from Capaldi and apart from Eccleston, who were very big famous names at the time, nobody's been that excited by Doctor Who casting. When David Tennant was cast, nobody knew who the fuck he was. We lost Christopher Eccleston. It was upsetting. So all of us were kind of scratching our heads and thinking, well, is he going to be any good? Ultimately, he was, but we didn't know that at the time. We should have trusted Russell because he did great things with Eccleston's era. Matt Smith was not a popular hire at first. I remember when he was revealed on Doctor Who Confidential. Even I'd never heard of him before. I've seen this guy with lots of hair and kind of, you know, I just didn't see it. But the more I saw of Matt, and I think once Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill left, I kind of embraced him all the more, because it was kind of the Amy and Rory show when Karen and Arthur were in it, and it kind of sidelined the Doctor too much. He was still a great Doctor, but once they left, it was about him, and that's what I liked. It was the same as David Tennant once Billie Piper left. Once she left, it wasn't about their relationship and their love story anymore, and I think that worked a lot more for me. So I don't think they can afford a controversial hire that's not popular. If they are going to hire, for example, maybe a black gay actor, which I definitely think they could do, it needs to be someone the public are aware of. It has to be someone the public like. It shouldn't be a situation like that, but they are down on their knees. They cannot afford to piss off the fans and the consumers and the viewers any more than they have. It's just that situation. So they're going to have to be very, very careful who they cast as the Doctor, who they cast as the companion. Who knows? We may get a past companion just to keep it safe at first. It's going to be interesting. But beyond that, we've got Russell T Davies has got a 60th anniversary to plan before he does the other season. And the interesting question is, how long will he be there after the 60th? Is he there just to steady the ship? It'll be interesting. I don't think they can afford to lose him just after the 60th, but we've been told that he's there for the 60th and beyond. Now, I think one of the reasons we're shocked that RTD came back, because he didn't really show much interest. I remember he was standing next to Moffat at a Radio Times thing, and you know, the interviewer goes, do you ever think of Doctor Who stories still, even though you're not running the show? And Moffat was going, yeah, absolutely. He loves Doctor Who blatantly. And Davies was going, no. You know, like the kid who is not, who's been dumped by his mates or something, who pretends he's not interested in his ex-girlfriend. That's like what Davies was doing. So to me, it seemed this guy simply is done with the BBC, done with Doctor Who. He doesn't want to be involved in it anymore. That's why, personally, I was so surprised that he's coming back. So in that case, why is he back? Creative freedom. I mentioned it yesterday, and I'll mention it again today. The big difference this time is Bad Wolf Productions. It's like these three gangsters, Jane Tranter, and the other lady whose name escapes me now, Jesus Christ. She was head of BBC Wales. I was talking about her yesterday on name only. But yeah, basically, Russell T Davies didn't just come in. He brought in Bad Wolf Productions. And what that means is that Bad Wolf Productions have literally, wrestled control of Doctor Who away from the BBC. That's what's happening here. Those people who we trust are now controlling Doctor Who. And that's why I think we're so very, very excited about RTD returning. So that's why I'm going for Tom Ellis, because he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He will be a brilliant Time Lord. He will be a brilliant Doctor. It would work. One of the reasons I think we won't get a white hire as a Doctor is because they don't want to show these fans who kind of didn't like the female Doctor idea that they've won. So they'll probably do something else, but personally, the colour of someone's skin shouldn't matter if you cast an Asian Doctor and an Indian Doctor, or the gender of the Doctor shouldn't matter. So why should it matter if you go and cast a white Doctor? This is the era and environment, unfortunately, that we live in today. But personally, I think that Tom Ellis has got everything you need to be a great Doctor, and I would love him to get it. He should be the next Doctor or the next James Bond. He is fantastic. I loved Lucifer because of him. I mean, the later seasons on Netflix put me off a bit, but Tom was still Lucifer. Tom was still great in the role. So, I love Tom, and I think he will make a great Doctor. I think he would make a perfect choice, and no one is going to be upset with this hire. And another reason why we're all excited about RTD. RTD has got a great imagination. I always called him the Welsh George Lucas. I remember watching the first episode, Rose, and I was just so full of energy, running around my room, hearing about Doctor Who Confidential next over on BBC Three, watching that. It's funny, actually, because Doctor Who's superfan, Martin Highwell, was actually criticising us all for loving Doctor Who Confidential. He doesn't understand why people love Doctor Who Confidential. Well, Martin, if you don't understand why, I can't help you. You've got an after show where you see behind the scenes, you see how they did this, how they did that, and you see a showrunner back in the RTD days actually so excited, and you can see the man's passion for Doctor Who. So for me, there's no why do people like Doctor Who Confidential. Doctor Who Confidential is great. I'd love to see it back again. We will see. Because when you take Doctor Who Confidential away, when you take Murray Gold, the original composer that Russell had on the show, and so did Stephen Moffat, away, you are taking things away that people loved. And at the end of the day, when you keep on slapping your audience down, your audience are going to stop complaining, stop moaning, and stop watching. You'd rather have a moany, aggressive, toxic fan base then no fan base at all. And this is what's happened to Doctor Who during the latter Moffat era and the Chibnall era. This has been the Doctor Who Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. I'll be back tomorrow with even more Doctor Who. Until then, goodbye. Comment down below. Let me know who you would like to be the next Doctor. And how do you feel about Russell T Davies returning as showrunner? See you again soon. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss this perfection. And I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.